Hey guys, so we're back in chapter 10 on our second set of notes on the volume of another shape, volume of triangular prisms. And before you get into excessive celebration, do note this is the last set of notes for the school year. I hope this has been a positive experience for you and that it has helped you learn, plus have resources to go back and look at as you study. So remember we talked about before that prisms have bases that are parallel and congruent, and based on the shape of that base is the name of the type of prism. So for us to have a triangular prism, guess what the base shapes are? That's right. Actually, let's call it triangular prism. I did the same thing before, didn't I? It says the bases of the prism are triangles. Okay? All right, so a little reminder here. Remember, the height of the prism separates the two triangular bases. Now, if you remember from the last set of notes, I mentioned that all the sides of prisms are rectangles. So in this particular shape, you couldn't really tell with a rectangular prism, they were all rectangles. So we just said, let's let the top and the bottom be the bases. And it just was easier that way to always think like that. And then the height of the prism separates those two bases. Well, this one's a lot easier to identify the bases because they're the only two triangles in the shape. The other sides will all be rectangles or squares. Okay, so here's our formula, which again you are going to memorize. Now we're going to start with the generic, oops, that was a weird E. There we go. So we're going to start with the generic formula. Volume is the area of the base. Base shape, and height is of the prism. Now this is why this comes important. I like to use that capital H because if you remember, the area for a triangle is going to be 1/2 the base of the triangle times the height of the triangle. So notice that I'm using a little b and a little h because it's just that part of the prism. But the height is going to be the capital H. So that's how I'm going to distinguish between the two. And so, like you see here, that little h, this is going to be the height of the triangle. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and launch in. We'll probably take 2 screens just because of the way that mine is put together. The directions are going to ask us on this to find the volume of each triangular prism. Okay, so I'll be completely honest with you. I am not too good at making triangular prisms, just so you know, okay? So bear with me if the picture looks bad, because it's possible. Now, I kind of do it in certain weird ways. And I do it like that that is terrible. Oh my gosh. Boop, there we go. And then once I get that in, then... So this kind of looks like a wedge of cheese. So I think of triangular prisms as being like tenths and wedges of cheese, Toblerone bars, which, yum. Trader Joe's carries them. They're from Switzerland. I lived over there, and Toblerone was just like Hershey's. You know, it was just so basic. But, yeah, chocolate in Switzerland, man. Deluxe. So, what you're going to look here is notice that sometimes they're going to put numbers on the top and sometimes on the bottom. Just kind of depends on the shape. So, this is going to be 13 meters. This side of the triangle base is going to be 10 meters. And this side of the triangular base is going to be 8 meters. And they give us this number is 12.8 meters. But if you think about it, if you look back at the formula, we have 1/2 the base times the height. And that is, if you think about it, it's just 3 letters, but we've got 4 numbers. So sometimes they like to throw in an extra number. And while that extra number doesn't help us when we're trying to figure out the volume of a prism, especially a triangular one, that number that we see does help us when we try to figure out surface area, which, by the way, we are not going to cover this year. Just saying. So let's go ahead and get our little pieces out. We're going to label them out. So let's do the base of the triangle. Let's make that little b is the 8. Let's make the height of the triangle, that little h is going to be the 10. And then the height of the perimeter of the triangular prism is the 13. Okay, so our formula, when we start with the V equals area of the base times the height of the prism, and then we're going to say, well, the area of the base is going to be 1/2 the base of the triangle times the height of the triangle base. Oh, boy, did you hear me? I just said those words backwards. And then we've got times the height. Okay, so we're going to plug numbers in and see what we can come up with. I'm going to see if I can get them all in here. So we're going to do 1/2 the base, which is 8, times the height of the base, which is the 10. And then we're going to multiply that by the height of the prism, which is 13. Pink. Okay, so let's see what I can do. I'm going to take 1/2 of 8 is 4. That gives me 4 times 10 is 40. And I'm going to multiply that by 13. So I'm going to do that off to the side, and I get 13 times 40. I always like to put something with a 0 at the bottom. Less math. 4 times 3 is 12. We get 4 times 1 is 4, plus 1 is 5. So we get the volume, the volume is 520, and now it's going to be cubic meters. Okay. All right. And then another one like this. Okay, this is my Toblerone right here. This is my favorite one to draw, probably because I like to eat the candy bar. And if you've never tried it, do yourself the favor. So remember, dashed means hidden in the background, right? Okay, so let's see what else this tell us. They're going to give us this. They're going to give us that. Okay. And notice that when they talk about the base shape, they're not going to fully deck out both bases. Like, they're not fully going to show you where the height is of that triangle base. Okay. They're just not going to do all of that. So let's see. They're going to tell us this is 4 inches. Over to the right, that's 7 inches. And then on the bottom, we have 4 inches. Left, we have 4 inches. And then, let's see. Ooh, and then this dashed line is 3.5 inches. Okay. So, let's label what we got. Because there's definitely, we need 3 numbers in our guy here, and we've got way more than that. So let's start with the base of the base. That would be the 4 inches on top, because that's where they show me the height of the triangle. And then the height of the triangle is going to be the 3.5. That's that little h. And then the height of the prism is going to be the big H, is the 7, because that separates the triangle from the triangle. Okay. So again, I'm going to color that in. How about I do that? So notice that this separates triangle from triangle, just like this separates triangle from triangle. Okay, so the volume is equal to the area of the base, which is 1/2 little base times little height. So the area of the triangle is going to be 1/2 the base of the triangle times the height of the triangle. And then we're going to multiply that by the height of the prism. So that's that side that separates the two triangles. So let's go ahead and put our numbers in, and we get 1/2 the base, which is 4. And I'm kind of showing you work a little differently, this one. And then the height is going to be that 3.5, that's of the triangle. And then we're going to multiply it by the height of the prism, which is going to be the 7. All right, so then I'm just going to start doing math. So I'm going to take 1/2 of 4, oops, let me just go back to black, is 2. I'm going to multiply 2 times 3.5. 10, 6, and 1 is 7 digits. So I get 7 times 7, and that equals 49. So we get 49, and then the label would be cubic inches, because we're multiplying inches times inches times inches. Okay? I'm going to go to the next page, and we will let's find the missing pieces. So the direction or dimension pieces. There we go. Find the missing dimension of each triangular prism. Okay. All right, so again, bear with me, not the best at these. So let me think how I want to do this. I want to get my right angle in first. That'll help me kind of gear up. So let me think. Let me make sure I get this guy. And then this would be like that. And that would be like that. So this is like a wedge of cake that's fallen. I don't know about you, but I'll serve a piece of cake, and instead of it standing upright, sometimes it goes whoop and it falls over. Yeah. All right, I don't like this one, so I'm going to try this guy again. Yeah, so be kind to yourself, because this is a bit of a challenge to get. Nope, that's still wrong. Oh, that's pretty bad too. There, that's as good as it's going to get today, sorry. And then Superman's vision goes through, and we're going to kindly keep things in a nice spot. Well, no, not so kindly. So remember, each triangle is identical in its dimensions, identical in the type of triangle it is. This happens to be a right triangle. Okay. And we're going to tell you what the volume is. 12 cubic centimeters. So we start with the formula. The area of the base is a triangle, so it's 1/2 little b little h, and then times the height of the prism, which is the big H. And we just start putting numbers where they belong. So I'm going to color volume is going to be the orange. And then we've got the base of the triangle, and it really doesn't matter who's who, to be honest with you. I'll call 0.3 the base of the triangle. The height of the triangle will be the 1 centimeter, and then Notice how in this diagram it's a little h. That is actually the height of the prism, right? Because it's separating the two triangles from each other. So let's put our numbers in. So we've got 12 is equal to 1/2. So always that 1/2 is there. And then the base is going to be 6. No, what's the base? 0.3. There we go. And then times the height of the triangle, which is the 1. And then it would be times, and then the height of the prism. So it just stays like that. So, I don't like this. I've got decimals and fractions together. So to solve this, I am going to actually multiply by the reciprocal of the fraction. So the reciprocal of 1/2 is 2. That's going to clear that guy out. That's going to give me 24 is equal to 0.3 times 1 is 0.3h. So now I'm going to divide both sides by 0.3. And then when I write my answer, I'm going to use that symmetric property and put the h first. So remember, when we're dividing by decimals, you can't. So you have to turn it into a whole number. So that means I multiply by 10. That moves over the decimal point 1 spot. So I take my dividend and multiply it by 10, which is going to move the decimal point over 1 spot. And I fill up any blanks with a 0. So then I bring up the decimal point and I start dividing. 3 goes into 24, and it's really important that you keep things lined up. And then notice there's still a digit here, 0, and 3 goes into 0 times. So we get the height is 80. Now again, don't judge by how I drew. Okay, just judge the numbers. That's the only thing you can trust in this case. So the height of the prism is 80, and it'd just be regular centimeters. Only volume is cubed. All right, last one. So this time they're just going to list out information. So we get volume is 55 cubic kilometers, mouthful. The base length, so they will very clearly spell out what each of the pieces are, and that's going to be 2 kilometers. The base height, so that's your little h, right? Little b, little h right here, is 5 kilometers. And the height of the prism, which is our big H, is going to be the mystery number. So we start with our formula. And I know the area of the base is a triangle, so it's 1/2 little b times little h, and then times the height of the prism, which is the big H. So remember what we're solving for. I'm going to go ahead and ID them over here. So the base of the triangle is the b, the base length. The base height is going to be the little h. We know v is v, right? And then we've got the height of the prism is the big H. So let's just plug our numbers in. So 55 goes in for v. And then we have 1/2. Oh my goodness, I think my kitty's having a dream. I just heard her go brrr. So the base length is the b, which is the 2. And then we've got times, so this is times the height, the base height, so that's the height of the triangle, is 5. And then the height overall of the prism is what we're solving for. And that's all a big multiplication problem. So I'm going to take half of 2 is 1, and then I have 1 times 5 is 5, so 5 times h is 5h, so I'm using that symmetric property, equals 55. And then the inverse would be to divide both sides by 5. And we get the height of the prism is 11. So that's what we say. The height of the prism, not of the base, but the prism. Height of the prism is 11, and the label would be kilometers. And there we go. Good luck, guys. We'll talk about it in class. Bye now.